Okay, your time for the warm-up is up. You need to pick up your colored pen and your calculator. Colored pen and your calculator. Pencil should now be on your desk. Today's warm-up was a review of everything you've learned so far in my class this week. First 4 questions were all divisibility rules. You should not have had to look back at your notes. You should have committed them to memory to the point where numbers 1 through 4 seemed very easy to you. So let's see how we did. Number 1, what is that number divisible by? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got a whole bunch of people. Valerie and then Yadesh. What did you get, Valerie?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10.
Okay. Go ahead.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10.
So you agree, and that is correct. It is divisible by everything except for the number 9. Mark it correct or incorrect. If you got it wrong, mark the answer wrong and put the correct answer using your colored pen. Number 2, what did we get for 920? What is that divisible by? Rashida, Briante, and then Hunter.
2, 4, 5, and 10.
Okay, what did you put?
2, 4, 5, and 10. 2, 4, 5.
So the same thing?
2, 4, 5, and 10.
Yeah, it is 2, 4, 5, and 10. Very good. Number 3, 64,042. What is that divisible by? Gloria, then Isabella. Gloria, Isabella, and then Matthew. Michael. 2. Just 2. Both of you agree it's just 2? It is just divisible by 2. Let's see. It's just divisible by 2. I apologize for messing up your name. Number 4. What's 3,498 divisible by? We'll start with Caesar. Caesar, Garion, and then we will go to Mia.
2, 3, and 6.
2, 3, and 6.
2, 3, and 6.
You agree? What do you think, Mia?
2, 3, and 6.
Yeah, it's divisible by 2, 3, and 6. Very good. Number 5. Now we start evaluating expressions like we studied last time. What do we get for number 5? 1, 2, 3, 4 confident people. That's it? Okay, so we'll go with Jed Lee, Joali, and then Selena. 5. Just say it a little louder. Nobody can hear you. Okay, you said 5, and you're saying negative 5?
5.
5. Okay, so we have a bit of a disagreement. Some people say 5, some people say negative 5. What do you think, Ezekiel? 5? The correct answer is negative 5. I actually have the wrong answer up here. I had a typing error. So the answer is negative 5. Number 6. What do we get? Now we up the level of complexity. We got exponents, we got a fraction bar. Oh no. So Isabella, then Briante, and then back to Rashida.
27.
27.
6.
6. 27. Again, we have a disagreement. What do you think, Michaela?
27.
So there seems to be more support for the answer of 27. The answer is 27. And then it's the same scenario on the bottom, different numbers. What do we get for number 7? What do we get? We'll start with Yadesh, Sebastian, Chanel.
100,000.
Without your hand here.
100,000.
100,000? 100,000.
40.
40. 100,000, 40. Big difference. Chanel?
40.
So now we have a disagreement. We got 100,000, we got 40. A couple people say 40. What do you think, Michael? 40? The correct answer is 40.
I read it wrong. I got it, I read it wrong.
Okay. And number 8. What did we get? We'll start with Ezekiel, Danae, and then Selena. The answer's 1. Okay. -1. Selena? 1. So again, we have a disagreement. A little bit more support for the answer of 1. What do you think? What do you think, Alex?
1.
Correct answer is 1. So, today's warm-up had 8 questions. So everyone, right near where you wrote the words warm-up, make a fraction out of 8 and count up the number of questions you got correct. Hopefully it was 6 out of 8 or better. I'd like it to be 7 or 8, but 6 out of 8 isn't terrible. That's 75%. That means you're about Padawan level. But if you got 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 8, then you're Jedi Knight level. So, give me a thumbs up if you've got your fraction and your percent up on top of your paper. Do we need, okay, only a few people. Put your thumbs down. Do we need a refresher on how to get the percent?
Yes.
Okay, so could I have someone help us refresh? How do we get the percent? Oh, we definitely need it because we only got 4 people who know how to do it. Isabella?
You divide the numerator into the denominator.
Well, you said it almost right, but you actually said it in a way that makes it wrong. You said divide the numerator into the denominator, and that's not what you meant. You divide the numerator by the denominator, and that is actually different. So I like to keep it really simple. Top divided by bottom. Top divided by bottom. So 6 divided by 8, and then move the decimal over 2 spaces. So 6 out of 8, 75%. So go ahead and find your percent. Okay. Now I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Questions on any of these? No questions, really. Okay, let me survey. Give me a thumbs up if you got number 5 correct. Okay, well that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Put your thumbs down. So that's about half the class. So there was a lot of people who didn't know how to do it, and it came out to a negative number, and even when I wrote the answer, I heard a bunch of people go, huh? And yet no one's asking any questions. So either you're still trying to understand how my class works, or you're scared, or you're hesitant, but let me make sure we're clear that you're here to learn by learning from your mistakes. If you don't confront your mistakes and ask questions, you're not going to improve. I'm just going to go ahead and reveal how this question was done. So it comes out to 3 times 3 minus 2 times 7 on my dry erase board over here. And that becomes 9 minus 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. But 9 minus 14 is not 5. It's negative 5. Okay? Now, I use this dry erase board for another reason. I noticed that a number of students had finished the warm-up and there were still like 3-4 minutes left. So what I'm going to start doing at some point next week is my advanced students who are finishing things a little bit early, you're going to end up being Jedi Masters for the rest of us. Which means that I'm going to give you a dry erase board. I'm going to pick a question that I know you got right, and I'm going to ask you to write out how you did it on the board, just like I did there, step by step. And then those will go up here so that the students, after we do the warm-up and get the answers, they can see all of the different answers up here on the board, and it will be very simple for everyone to learn from their mistakes. Okay? Any questions? Caesar? Number 7. Good. I'm surprised nobody else asked about number 7. Because there was a number of people who got it wrong. So it's 5b to the third power. b is 2. So we're going to write this as 5 times 2 to the third power. So I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to do it wrong. You're going to be the teacher, and I'm going to be the student, and I would like you to give me a thumbs up when you discover my mistake. Make sure you can explain what the mistake is. Okay? So you watch me. Pretend like you're looking over my shoulder, and you're my tutor. Ready? Plug that in. Don't put your thumb up unless you know the mistake. Good. Put your thumbs down. Michaela, what was my mistake?
You were supposed to do 2 to the third power before you multiply it by 10.
Before I multiply it by...
Oh, 5.
Okay. Wow, that was a fantastic explanation. She is 1,000% correct. I did 5 times 2, but I was not supposed to do that. I was supposed to do 2 to the third power first. So let me use my magic rewind time machine, go back in time, like many of you wish you could, and now do it correctly. So now I need to do 2 to the third power. What's 2 to the third power? Rashida?
You multiply 2 3 times.
And so what does it come out to?
It comes out to 8.
Very good. And now it's 5 times 8, which, as you know, is Caesar. You got what?
80.
Okay. So to me, what that means is you did either you did 2 to the third power incorrectly and you got 16, or you did something else that I can't quite figure out. Okay, because your answer was double this answer, that tells me that this was a 16 or something. I'm not sure. Okay, good. Are there any other comments or questions on any of the warm-up? Okay, so today we'll be discussing powers and exponents. For the first few lessons of the year, we are refreshing and building on some foundation ideas. Some ideas that you're going to need to do the higher level math that we're going to be exploring for the rest of the year. So we talked about order of operations, we talked about evaluating. Today we're going to talk about powers. And again, this is an idea where you need to know how they work so we can do the higher level material. Okay? Today's lesson is actually going to go pretty quickly. So if I'm going too fast, please raise your hand and let me know, and I will do my best to slow down and just review what I said. But I'm going to go pretty quickly. You guys have proven already to be a pretty high-level group. So I'm not going to slow down if it's not necessary. So powers and exponents. First off, there's 2 different forms. There's standard form, which means it's written without exponents. And then there is exponential form, which means it's written with exponents. You need to know the difference. One's without, one's with. Okay? Now, the pieces of a power. We have the base. The base is the common factor, the number being multiplied over and over again. The exponent tells us how many times the base is going to be used. So they work together. You have to know the base and you have to know the power, the exponent, so that you know how the power works. Evaluate. You've already heard this term a bunch of times this week. Evaluate means find the value of. So you could have standard form, you can have exponential form, and then you could evaluate and find a value. So let's look at what this is going to look like to you. This is exponential form. That's exponential. It's written with exponents. This here is standard form. It's written as a product. Standard form, no exponents, it's written as a product. Awesome. I'll call you back in a little bit. So exponential form, sorry for the interruption, exponential form, standard form, and then if you were to evaluate this or this is the value. So this is evaluated. Okay? Questions? So now you're going to be working with algebra. And so here's what it looks like in algebraic terms. So instead of a number as the base, we have a variable as the base. So you see that standard form looks very similar to standard form with numbers. Exponential form looks very similar as exponential form with numbers. But you will notice that there's no value. You can't evaluate this unless you knew what x was supposed to be. So you can evaluate when there's numbers, but you can't evaluate with letters. The final goal of today is to apply it to a real few scenarios. So we've got area and volume formulas. So you need to write down the two formulas. You're going to be committing them to memory, and you're going to be using them today and this evening. When we have a square or a cube, the formula to find the area or the volume is very simple because a cube and a square have a property that's really important. All the sides are the same. So Jed Lee, if you look for a square, the bottom or the width and the length, the side, are actually the same distance. And since they're the same, what we could say is this is really s squared, just like we have here. So if I know the value of this, I can find the area by just plugging it in here and chugging it out. Same thing with a cube. This distance is the same as this distance, and it's the same as this distance. To find a volume of a cube, you have to multiply length times width times height, but they're all the same. So we can just say that it's s cubed. So area of a square is s squared, volume of a cube is s cubed. And we're going to be utilizing these today. Comments or questions? Now, if I move to another screen and you didn't get to finish something from this screen, just let me know at the end of class. I can give you my printed out copy. It's not a big deal. If you're missing one little piece, we can fill it in afterwards. But I am going to keep moving forward. Example 1. Remember, you're going to write example 1 or you could write EX1. You do not have to write what's in parentheses, you just need to read it. And you don't even have to write the instructions unless I tell you to. Sometimes I will tell you to because I want you to see the unusual sort of instructions that they are. And then you have to copy the question. Don't go on to part B until we finish part A. So, we are asked to write each expression as an exponent, or a power. And so we have -5 times -5 times -5. Once you see a situation where you have the same thing being multiplied over and over again, that means it's a situation for an exponent. This becomes the base. It's called the common factor. If you have a negative common factor, we're going to put it in parentheses. And then you just have to count how many there are. 1, 2, 3. And that becomes your exponent, negative 5 to the third power. And that's rewriting something as a power. Does anyone have any questions on how I got from here to here? Again, I'm going quickly because I think you guys either already know some of this, already know all of it, or could catch on very quickly. Any questions? So part B is where we up the level of complexity from last year. If you in fact studied this last year, which I think you did. Now we have a more complicated expression. We're asked to use exponents. But we can't just use exponents for everything. We can only use exponents for something that's a repeated factor. Something that shows up over and over again. So in part B, what is showing up over and over again? What's showing up over and over again? Gloria? A is showing up over and over again. So we're going to rewrite the A with an exponent. The rest does not get an exponent. We're going to start out by writing down the number first. Numbers always go in front. So we'll put negative 2 times. And now we're going to go in alphabetical order. So we'll say, okay, A comes before B, so we're going to have A. But what power is it going to have? What power? Got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a bunch of people. Valerie? To the third power because there's 1, 2, 3 of them. And then there's only one B, so it's times B. And now we're in pre-algebra and algebra, so we don't write the multiplication dot. We just write negative 2 A to the third B. And that is how you rewrite an expression using powers. Caesar, you had a comment or a question? Oh, okay. Comments or questions on how we did this? So now we'll up the complexity again. Part C. Eight times C times D times C times C times D. We use powers when there is a repeated factor. What's the repeated factor this time? What's the repeated factor this time? Ezekiel? Okay, so there's actually 2 of them. So we've got C, and then we also have D is a repeated factor as well. So they can both get powers. Again, we start out with numbers in front. This time I'm just going to write the answer. 8, and we go in alphabetical order. There's 1, 2, 3 C's. So this will be C to the third power. And then there's 1, 2 D's, so that will be D to the second. And so we've rewritten this expression in a more advanced form using powers. Any questions on part C? And now I'm wrapping up with a simple algebraic one. What will D turn into when we use powers? Go ahead, Caesar.
D to the fifth power. I mean, not D,
K to the
fifth power.
Very good. So all you have to do is count them. There's 5 of them, so that's K to the 5th power. Very good. Comments or questions? Comments or questions on any of these? All right, let's see how you do on your own. Check. Oh, my mistake. I thought we were going to checkpoint. My mistake. Now we're going in reverse, and then we're going to do checkpoint. So, example 2. Now, I'm not going to ask you to copy them, but I want you to read these instructions carefully because they're unusual, and it's what you're going to see in the textbook and in the workbook. Write each power as a product of the same factor. That's a fancy way of saying standard form. It's a fancy way of saying write it in expanded standard form. Remember, standard form is without exponents. So how could we rewrite 8 to the 4th power without exponents? How would we write that? Michael? Very good. 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. Now, if you were asked to evaluate it, if you were asked to rewrite it and then evaluate it, then you would punch it in the calculator and go 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. But in this case, we're just asked to write it as a product of the same factor. That's it. In part B, x to the 6th power, what will that become? Hunter?
X times X times X times X times X times X.
Exactly. So we're just counting how many x's there are and writing them out. Any questions? Questions? So now when we up the complexity, now we throw in a couple of variables, and it's really the same thing, you just do one at a time. If there was no u here, if that wasn't there and it was just w to the 3rd, how would I write that out? Rashida? Yeah, it would just be w times w times w, excuse me. W times w times w. But there is a u there, so how would I write just the u to the 2nd power? How would I write that part? Selena? U times u. So that just gets tacked on the end, times u times u. And now I've rewritten the expression without exponents. Does anyone have any questions on how that was done? And we're not going to do part D, but the same thing would happen with numbers as with letters. You would have 6 and z's. So let's see how you do on your own. I think you guys get it. Now we got checkpoint number 1. Remember, checkpoints, you do not have to copy the question. You just have to find the value or the answer or the solution. So you got 2 questions. You got a minute and a half. Whatever the instructions say. All right, what'd you get for part A? Part A. We'll start with Joali, Alex, and then Chanel.
7 times 7 times 7 times 7.
Okay.
2,401.
Okay. You agree with him. Anyone else want to chime in with an answer? What do you think, Isabella?
2,401.
The correct answer is 2,401, and I did intentionally try to trick you, so don't feel bad if you wrote 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. But because the word evaluate is here, that means you actually then have to multiply 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 to get the value. What about part B? What will that be? We'll start with Mia, then Sebastian, and then Valerie. What'd you get? Okay, what'd you get? So you two agree. It is s to the 5th power. That was an easy one. Very good. Comments, questions? Good, we're doing quite well. Now let's apply it to a real scenario. Write example 3, but you do not have to copy the text of the question. Read the question and then draw the picture. It's a very simple picture, but draw the picture. This is, in fact, how wall-to-wall carpeting and tiling and any type of flooring does work. You must find the area of the space before you purchase or start installing things. So if we have a square floor that's got 11 feet on one side, and we need to find the area, it's quite simple. Area equals side squared. Some of you can probably do this mentally. Area equals 11 squared. So what will the area be for this floor? Got 5 people who think they can do it. Danae?
121 feet.
Pretty good. It's 121, but the units of measurement is not feet.
Square
What
feet,
is?
I'm sorry.
Very good. It is square feet. Excellent. I'm impressed you caught your own mistake. It is square feet because when you're talking about area, if you look at the floor, there's squares all over the floor. You're trying to figure out how many squares fit into a floor. Any questions about that? Any questions on why this formula is what it is? Any questions about how to use it? Good. Let's see how you do on your own. Checkpoint number 2. You do not have to copy the question. You just need to find the answer. Got a minute and a half. So what do we get? We'll start with Yadesh, and then Gloria, and then Jedley. Okay.
0.27 cubic yards.
Okay. Just have to say it louder. Okay. So we got 3 different answers. Someone want to jump in with one of them? What'd you get, Alex?
0.729 cubic yards.
Okay. Selena?
0.729.
It is 0.729 cubic yards. So, like I said, area is measured in squares. Volume is measured in cubes because what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out how many of these fit into a three-dimensional space like this room. So literally you're trying to figure out how many of these could I stack up, over, and across. How many cubes? So that's why volume is measured in cubic units. So it's 0.729 because you had to multiply 0.9 times itself 3 times. Okay? Good. You guys are doing a very good job. Draw a line across your paper. Your classwork. Let me see. I'll be kind, being that it's Friday afternoon. Everyone write classwork, but then don't copy the assignment. Just write classwork. And then next to it or underneath it, I want you to write free point. We're not going to do classwork. I will give everyone a free point when you come in on Tuesday. I will circle 1 for everyone. Draw another line across your paper, and the part that you must do is your homework. Your homework is in the textbook, page 12. You're going to do numbers 22 through 32 even only. So that's 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. And then you're going to do 38, 44, 46, and 48. None of those questions are optional. These are not extra questions that I'm saying do them if you like to. These are all part of the assignment, and these questions are the most important. And you're going to have a quiz next Thursday, and I will talk about what exactly is on it on Tuesday.